disciplined in how we ask our questions so that everybody gets an opportunity, of course, to do that. But before we do that, we have a point of order from the honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know in the province of Ontario, in the workplace, you're mandated to wear a mask. When I look across, 20% of the Conservative caucus is not wearing a mask. And, you know, I would look to the member from Carleton as even an Ontario Member of Parliament. Is there any obligation if you, because we're in Ontario, where the Premier Doug Ford has a mandate for masks in the work environment, whether or not we should be wearing masks?
Good question. Member.
You know, and I just want to say that the Speaker did have a response to this yesterday in a point of order as well. Tried to clarify it. The BIOE had made a decision that it is strongly recommended. It is not required. I guess it depends on where you draw that line of strongly recommended. So I will strongly recommend it to members of the House to keep their mask on when they're not speaking. Question et commentaire. The honourable member for Carleton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I took my mask off to speak. I note the member had his mask off while he was very quickly condemning others for not wearing a mask. The irony. So, Mr. Speaker, this minister wants us to trust his government to regulate what Canadians see and say online. Let's look at how this government uses the powers it has. This very week, they decided to invoke the never-before-used Emergency Act, an act with such vast powers. It was not used after the attacks of 9/11, was not used when a gunman actually came in to the parliamentary buildings and had shot a Canadian soldier dead, was not used with the blockades of the pipeline in British Columbia. These powers will allow the government to invade the privacy, the freedoms, and even the bank accounts of Canadians. And that's why Conservatives will fight it all the way. Nous, les conservateurs, vont nous battre contre ces...
The Conservatives will fight these abuses.
Speaker, this government has abused the freedoms of Canadians. Why should Canadians now trust that same abusive government with the power to censor what Canadians...
Well, I thank my colleague for his leadership speech, Mr. Speaker. Maybe it's not the right forum for that. Maybe he should do that in his own caucus meeting room, maybe not here, because we're talking about... I'm talking about something else, Mr. Speaker. We're talking about...
Now we have a point of order from Leans Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Yeah, thanks, Speaker. So just before the member for Carleton started speaking, or just after he started speaking, the member for Kingston and the Islands did say in a volume loud enough for all members in the House to hear that another member in this House, another honourable member, had lied. And I believe if you check with the folks from Hansard, they would confirm, or the folks at the table heard the same thing. I would ask you, Speaker, to invite that member, of course, to unreservedly apologize for impugning the character and speaking in an unparliamentary way about an honourable member of this place.
I see the member for Kingston and the Islands is standing.
Mr. Speaker, because it is not appropriate to call another member a liar in this House, I certainly take that comment back. But I will say, for 8 minutes, we've watched the member.
I know. Thank you. Let's go back to questions and comments. Actually, no, sorry.
Wearing a mask.
All right, we done?
The good news is we know who supports Pierre.
I thought now that we got into the debate on this bill that we would have a nice quiet time talking about the bill before us. Actually, the minister didn't have an opportunity to answer, so the Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to give me the opportunity. I'm not sure there's much to respond here because it was more of a leadership speech towards his friends here, maybe not adapted to the debate that's in front of us today, which is a very important debate on our culture. on who we are as Canadians, on what we need to do to support our Canadian stories, our musicians, our actors, our directors, Mr. Speaker. This is the debate. I would have loved the member of Carleton to ask a question that had anything to do even closely to this bill, but he didn't. So it gives me the opportunity to say that this bill is extremely important.